Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of the No Signal Show. This is a very classy episode because we're drinking wine instead of beer. Hello, Kieran, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Hello.
I'm good.
Good evening.
What do you got?
All right. Well, first item of news, Oppo has unveiled the world's first under-screen selfie camera. Do you know what this means?
I have no idea what that means. I know what Oppo is. It's a phone manufacturer
It is.
that rips off Apple's design most of the time.
They make
So
kind
you're
of
telling me
different.
they've innovated.
They have innovated. Although I heard like whispers of multiple people trying this or looking into this. It's literally like there is a screen that's over the whole of the phone.
Yeah.
And there is a camera behind the screen, underneath the screen, which can record selfies and stuff.
All right, so how is this different from a regular iPhone? Because iPhone has a screen, and then it has a camera behind the screen.
Well, iPhone is the same as a lot of the Android phones that use the notch. What they call the notch.
Okay.
The little lip at the top, right?
So what you're
Where
saying
there's
is
no
the
screen.
camera is not visually visible on the front of the phone. It's like literally behind the screen.
Yeah. So if you look at the phone, you're like, this phone doesn't have a camera on it.
Okay.
Because the screen goes edge to edge. Anyway, apparently there's some kind of technology that they have invented here. Custom transparent material has a redesigned pixel structure so that light can go through it.
Interesting.
Apparently the sensor itself is larger than they normally are in phones. I don't know if that's because of the technology that they need to make it like that, or it's an advantage because it can be bigger.
Do we have any sample photos that it has taken?
I don't know. I haven't seen any. Apparently the image quality is going to be affected by haze and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But front-facing cameras never were perfect. They've always been the unloved.
It's always been like a
version of
bit,
the camera.
megapixel-wise lower than the back camera.
Yeah.
Quality-wise, always it wasn't the most current, up-to-date camera. It was always the last year's model.
Yeah, but
or something
apparently
like that.
you can actually see in some conditions, as you can see in this image, you can actually see the area.
Yeah.
It's not clear to me why this is, because this article is in Chinese and I can't read Chinese. But apparently,
You should try Google Translate.
yeah. Look, I don't know about this. I feel like we're entering an era of mobile phones where it's a bit like TVs, where they're all kind of the same, and the innovation level is much in terms of how it impacts your life. This is cool. It's a technological breakthrough if they can put stuff behind screens.
Yeah, they put so much money into the research and development of these things. Personally, I don't mind if there's a black bar above the screen
Exactly.
that houses all the sensors, including the camera.
You kind of need something to hang on to at the end of the day. It can't be an entirely just screen.
I don't mind that at all. But, I wouldn't mind if the notch didn't exist. If all of that was just on top of the display.
Yeah, I think they call them chins.
Chins. Yeah. I wouldn't mind a chin.
I think someone I saw someone tracking a joke somewhere here where it was someone has already done this. Someone's already put a camera underneath the screen before, and it was a photo of a phone that had the bottom chin with the camera, so it was underneath it.
Apple's gonna if Apple wants to rip off Oppo for a change, they're gonna struggle because it's not just the camera within the notch. They have multiple sensors there. They have the infrared sensor. They have some other things in there, ambient light sensor or whatever.
Oh, look, I hope people don't really do this. I think if it's gonna cause compromise, but someone has to be the first to give this a go.
Yeah,
I guess. So it's not attached to a phone just yet, like a real one you can buy, but it will be apparently.
It's cool. It's interesting to see all these companies they're trying to be the first at something.
Yeah.
Right? But Apple is always at least for me, like the clear winner, because they're not striving to be the first at something. They only do something when they can do good, presumably, most of the time. And we'll touch on that later.
Sure.
But good on Oppo for trying something new for a change. You can feel the hate, right?
Yeah.
It's just I got a hold of a few Oppo phones a while ago, and they were just like very clear ripoffs.
Yeah, color OS was
like the
definitely
UI,
iOS.
everything. Just, yeah. So there's a bit of that.
Oh well.
All right.
What do you got?
So what's next? Talking about Apple, I'm sure you've heard the news.
Some news, yeah.
Sir Jonathan Paul Ive is leaving Apple. Jony Ive,
Who?
the chief design officer at Apple, who has been with Apple for 27 years, is responsible for some of the most iconic designs of our lifetime, of any consumer product ever, including the iMac, the iPod, and the iPhone. I think a truly monumental figure in the design world, and definitely in this industrial design world. So it's kind of like an end of an era situation.
Yeah.
He has officially announced that he's leaving Apple.
You're retiring?
He's not really retiring. He's forming his own company called Love From, one word. And their first client is going to be Apple.
Yeah.
So he's contracting his services in a way. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, because I have mixed feelings about Jony Ive.
Well, what does it mean for the future of Apple's products? If he's, it sounds to me like not a lot's gonna change, or maybe there'll be other.
I think Apple has
design
gotten
superstars, able to shine.
Apple has gotten itself into a pattern where they're consistently releasing iterations over iterations of products. I don't feel much of the old Apple is present with groundbreaking new crazy designs.
What's the old Apple? What era?
The translucent iMac,
What's that, late 90s?
Sunflower iMac or whatever, and just really out there designs. They were really cool and groundbreaking, and they were definitely not iterations. They were new products that brought on new verticals and all of that. And Jony Ive has been instrumental in all of those things. So I think with Tim Cook becoming a CEO, he's been an operations guy, and he's bringing some sort of a structure to the company and some sort of a iterative workflow that Apple didn't have before. And yeah, with Jony Ive leaving, that's just going to become more.
So wait, you think that's a bad thing?
I don't know, because I have mixed feelings about Jony Ive, because he's a great industrial designer, but I'm not a big fan of when he took over software design as well. And with iOS 7, we got introduced to the flat UI thing, and they got rid of the material skeuomorphic design system that they had. I'm not a big fan of that. I actually like the skeuomorphic design system.
I don't think they did a whole lot of, like, it sort of hasn't really changed a whole lot in the last. Since he took over, he kind of did one thing and then...
Yeah, the iOS 7 was the big change.
Everything else has been really subtle.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, because he's been off and on with Apple. I think he moved to UK for the last few years or something. He wasn't that involved. He wasn't as involved as he has always been.
Well, every time he gets rolled out, he gets mocked.
Yes.
Because he does those videos where he appears in the white room. And everyone's like,
funnily
he's trapped
enough,
in a white room again.
In the recent videos, it's just his voice. They don't show a video of him anymore. But
I wonder if that was a conscious decision on his part.
Yeah, given that, I was on Twitter the whole day today,
He's actually a sir, by the way. You didn't
He
just
is a
call him that
sir.
affectionately.
He was knighted in 2012 by the Queen.
Yeah,
Um,
that's respectable.
it is. So here's some tweets from the Twitterverse about Jony Ive's departure that I came by today. To Johnny@apple.com. Subject: Senior Designer Opening. Johnny, I was impressed with your LinkedIn profile and background. We have an exciting position available with a fast-growing, well-funded startup. Can you send over some work samples? Looking forward to hearing from you.
Nice.
This
Standard.
is like we've all had like gotten this LinkedIn message from some recruiter somewhere.
Yeah.
Did Jony Ive design Apple or did Apple design Jony Ive?
Oh, wow. I didn't recognize that guy on the left. Yeah.
This is an existential question. Jony Ive will still work with Apple, but it will require a special adapter.
Nice.
We will miss you, Jony Ive, with the photo of the
yes.
horrible design.
This is one of my favorites.
Magic mouse.
Apple's design at its best.
And finally, we went from Steve Jobs and Jony Ive, Steve Jobs being a product guy and Jony Ive being a design guy, to Tim Cook and Jeff Williams, who took over Jony Ive's position. And Tim Cook is an operation guy and Jeff Williams is an operation guy. Well, that bodes well. Shit.
Well, Apple is a massive company. They are not necessarily individuals at the top completely.
You can see how the visionaries have sort of left Apple. And now it's just this iterative operations people that will guide us through their iterations. That's my guess. We'll see what happens.
I suppose Apple's done pretty well, just the fact that you know who their executives are and, can't necessarily say the same for a lot of other companies.
That is true.
Yeah, they've done well to establish their people as being geniuses.
That's true.
I guess.
They do elevate them during their keynotes and everything, so you get to know everyone in the team, and they do run the company as a startup. Yeah. I do like.
They're very
Apple.
deliberate about how they do all that, whether you like it or not. Yeah. Well, speaking of things that are happening, whether you like it or not, so. Alphabet, Alphabet, the
owner of Google.
Not many people, I feel like, really know that, but it's more of a technicality. Anyway, Alphabet is the parent company of Google, and they also own these other experimental things that they do from time to time that have nothing to do with searching the internet. Anyway, their latest thing that they've unveiled today is apparently like 18 months in the making. One of their companies called Sidewalk Labs has unveiled a high-tech city within a city plan for Toronto. So basically, like, they are going to spend, or they're wanting to spend $1.3 billion on a project which basically involves them buying up a bunch of land in Toronto that's currently like not being used or not being used very well, and the city is happy to sell to them, and they're going to just build a new city. And the idea is they want to build it. I think the quote is a neighborhood built from the internet up.
No.
Some kind of high-tech utopia.
No.
No. So I think this is interesting. Like, I'm definitely not a town planner. And there's a lot that I would not know about this, but my gut feeling on this is a bit like, from the software development world, there's the term technical debt, which is kind of like infrastructure that you have previously built that like no longer helps you or, gets in the way of innovation with what you're trying to do. And so I sort of see this as like starting a new project that doesn't have any technical debt. They've got, if this goes ahead, they'll have permission to just like flatten this patch of land and then like plan a town from scratch.
Yes.
So it's a very interesting opportunity.
It is. It's not like a revolutionary. There's things like this happening across the world with plant communities and things like that, right?
Yeah, that's right. What's interesting is that this is Google's, and it's therefore it's quite ambitious.
So do we know any details?
Well, apparently there is a huge stack of books that detail the plan, and something like 1,500 pages. So the highlights are like they want innovations like self-driving cars, public Wi-Fi, healthcare delivery solutions, and other city planning advances that modern technology makes possible.
Yep, I think that's an aspect that, you know, with self-driving cars, they're trying to create cars that understand the world as we know today.
Yeah.
Right? So they're trying to
and
create all this AI to adapt these cars to. But what if
with the other cars,
we were to start from scratch and we were to create a city that instead of stop signs just has sensors or whatever, and instead of lane markings it has other sensors, and something that's built for a computer to understand well. So is it something like that?
I imagine so. You'd probably have to read into it a bit more. I haven't read into it more. Like I've heard about this, like as you say, like there's planned communities in the sense that we know today, and then there's these planned high tech communities, which I think have been talked about, particularly in like developing nations and stuff, where they don't have huge established cities in some locations. So they want to collect like urban data to better inform housing and traffic decisions.
They're Google.
Yeah, I mean there is a lot you could. It just takes a bit of imagination to rethink sort of what you could do if you were in charge of the entire thing. Because it's Google, it's kind of also like you think, should they do this? And there's definitely a lot of opposition to this.
I think the whole point that they created Alphabet as a parent company to Google was to be able to do things like this, and people not asking them, should Google do this? They're like, oh, we're not Google anymore. We're Alphabet. We're doing all sorts of different things. Google's a search engine.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows if this will actually happen? This is like you see this all the time, you know, people announcing plans for infrastructure and it needs to be reviewed and approved and budgets allocated and all that stuff.
Yeah, especially when you involve like city councils.
Yeah. But, you know, it's
exciting.
bold.
Excited to see what will happen with that.
I have to keep my eye on this one.
Yep. Cool. What's next? Do you know someone whose name is Hans Zimmer?
Oh gosh, do I know Hans Zimmer?
Yeah. Hans Zimmer is, for those who don't know, he is our modern day Mozart or Beethoven. He is a composer.
He's prolific.
He's a prolific composer, responsible for the scores of some really popular movies like The Lion King.
He has a particular style.
Or The Batman.
Which you either love or you hate.
Or Inception. He has very specific style.
Yes.
Like when I watch a movie, like I can tell that it's Hans Zimmer music when it comes on. He has a very specific style. He's pretty good, I think.
I'm into him.
Yeah.
So what's he up to?
Okay, so his next gig, you know, like before this, he was composing for movies like The Lion King, Batman, and Inception. And now he's got a new gig, and it's tech related.
Cool.
Why, you ask? Because he is composing the sound of the new BMW electric car.
So as in, because it wouldn't have a motor, it doesn't have a natural sound.
Exactly.
Like obviously it has a motor. A motor that makes noise.
So this is him in the studio composing how a car would sound.
Look, you could tell me that's just him in the studio composing anything, really. But wow, okay. How much time do you think it would take him?
Yeah. This is such a marketing thing,
Yeah.
like for BMW to do. Like, come on, like they've hired like probably the most expensive film composer to compose a sound for their new car, and the new car
It's not even a film.
is not even a new car. It's a concept car called the BMW Vision M Next. And they have a little promo video in which they reveal the sound, but it's only for a brief second that I actually hear any car sound.
Wait, is it a car?
No car sound. That is the only car sound that you hear in this video. The rest of it is like, who are you? Why should you get this car?
He's just doing the trailer, really.
No, he's actually composing the car sound.
Yeah.
So the thing is that in some jurisdictions, it is required by electronic cars to have car sounds.
Yep.
Or as they
otherwise
call
you
it,
can't quite hear them coming. Like, you know, Teslas and stuff, they just... The difference between them being parked and then moving is nothing. Just the sound of the tires a little bit.
after they drive faster than a certain speed, the wind creates a sound. But before they get there, the car needs an artificial sound to make itself known to pedestrians.
Yeah.
And they call this phenomenon the acoustic pedestrian protection feature that will come standard with any BMW electronic car. And it's literally just the car pumping out artificial sound to make itself known to pedestrians.
Does that mean he gets to use the train?
I guess he can use whatever.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. I just found this to be so douchey. Just unbelievably lame.
That's hilarious.
It's just hiring a film composer to compose the sound that's going to mimic an actual car sound on an electric vehicle. So we're just going to leave the story at that.
Yeah.
We don't need to dive deeper into that.
Oh, Hansi. Must be between movies. All right. I think you'll enjoy this one. You're always a fan of platforms or, you know, software on the internet being used for purposes that it wasn't originally intended.
Yeah. Or organic uses.
Yeah. People coming up with stuff.
Yeah.
Applying creativity. So I saw this the other day, and I'm glad that it's received media attention. Someone has created a choose your own adventure Beyonce story, fan fiction, if you will, on Twitter.
Okay.
So
I'm lost already.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about Beyonce, and when I went through this, I was like, I don't know. I'm choosing at random. But I just love what they've done here. So they've taken the premise is like you are Beyonce's newest assistant, and you have to make it as far as possible through the adventure without getting fired.
Okay.
And what it is...
This is some sort of a game on Twitter.
Yeah, so...
that anybody can play.
Some user whose handle is corny ass bitch has just created a bunch of tweets that I imagine if you go to their profile and look at it, it doesn't make any sense. But if you find the original tweet that starts it, it says, "Being Beyonce's assistant for a day, don't get fired thread. It's your first day in the job and Beyonce is getting ready for a red carpet. What are you going to get her for breakfast? Yogurt, granola, and strawberries, or a 5-star
and they're
breakfast?"
using like the poll thing in it.
No, they're not. No? That is a thing that's been done before by somebody else. But this is like, basically you click on one of the replies. It says, click here if you choose the yogurt, granola, and strawberries, which I accidentally chose. And the next reply is the next piece, which is like, she nods at you for choosing the healthy breakfast, then asks you to FaceTime her daughter. Who are you FaceTiming? Blue or Rumi?
Blue.
And then you...
Because his daughter's name is Ivy Blue?
Yeah. Okay. I'm guessing they're both her daughters?
I don't know much about Beyonce.
Yeah, it makes us a really, like, we'd probably be terrible assistants. So click here if you're FaceTiming Blue Ivy. She FaceTimes Blue. And then, you know, it's filled with content as well. Like, this person has gone to great lengths to make this happen. And it's just...
Is this the corny ass
It's just
bitch?
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I applaud the level of kind of like
Corny ass
planning
bitch,
that goes
you have
into
too
this.
much time on your hands. But I guess it's kind of cool because when talking about it, you know.
Yeah, like I saw this. It
You've
went
made
viral.
it onto our show.
It went viral basically, and I saw it like organically in my Twitter thing, and my eyes just lit up. I was like, yes, like, good job. This is awesome. Yeah, basically there's...
Some people have too much time on their hands.
I don't know how many...
That's the moral of your story.
Yeah, I don't know how many paths there are through this adventure, but there's only 2 positives. Like, one where you don't get fired and one where you apparently resign.
On your own choosing.
So it seems to be like quite funny as well for people who understand all the references.
Yeah, you gotta be a true Beyonce fan, I think, to be able to like fully experience this.
Yeah. There was one that you might be thinking of called Outcast, which this article talks about, where it was a story that was about the Korean pop group BTS. And it was like screenshots of iMessage, apparently. And it used the polling system to, like, I guess, make the story unfold in real time. Whereas this is more like you just choose a path. But, like, Twitter is not built for this. So... how cool is that?
I'm having trouble actually navigating Twitter sometimes, like the whole reply system and everything. So to be able to play a game in there feels really weird for me.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Twitter is kind of complicated for me. Yeah, I confess.
Oh, well, that's clearly I'm running out of like really interesting tech stories. So
yeah,
that might be
we
me.
didn't have a lot of tech stories this week, did we? They were more like today's episode was more like a gossip column. So
culture around
we
the tech.
hope that you have enjoyed it, and we hope that you would subscribe to hear more tech gossip. We're kind of like the TMZ of the tech world here.
Well, are we?
Yeah, this show is called the No Signal Show. We're just a couple of alcoholics bringing you what's new in tech every single week. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. We'll see you next week for episode 2.
See ya.